This video is going to look at answering the task 3, which is the publishing task on the June 2012 Level 2 paper. I'm just going to scroll down the question sheet so we can see where we want to be. So the first thing we see is task 3 newsletter. In the exam, task 3 is either going to be a presentation, in which case you're going to use PowerPoint, or it's going to be something that's displayed on screen, in which case you're going to use PowerPoint, or it's going to be something else. At level 2, you can either use Word or a desktop publishing, you can either use a word processor or a desktop publishing software. Microsoft publishes desktop publishing software, and we're going to use that because Word it's very difficult to lay things out really accurately in Word unless you're very experienced at using Word, and it may be that your job means you have to do that. I have had learners in the past who've been able to do this in Word quite happily. There are some things that you can't do in Word that you can do in Publisher, which is why I tend to use Publisher where possible. All the college computers have Publisher available. So we're going to have a look at this question. So Tom sends out a newsletter to his customers. I've already decided I'm going to do it in Publisher, so I know the software I'm going to use. My task is to produce the July issue of the newsletter. Now, they've put July issue in there. I'm going to store that. That's going to be remembered because we're going to put that into our newsletter as well. The newsletter must include the title from News Text L2. News Text L2 is a file in the data files folder. Let me just go up here a sec. And when you're looking at your data files for the exam, you'll see a folder like this. And we're going to go to News Text. And when you double click on that, it's a text file, and it would just open up like that, more than likely. I'm going to just maximize that. Now, it doesn't look like we've got very much text here, but if you look at the bottom of the screen, we've got a scroll bar and we can move along, and actually there's quite a lot of text there. These are actually paragraphs, but because there's no new line or return or enter pressed in the middle of the paragraph, it just goes across width of the document. An easier way to look at this, and something I'd always recommend you do, is go into Format, Word Wrap, and what that will do is when your text hits the edge of the window, it starts again on the next line down. So we can see doing that, oh actually we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs there. Okay, so this is a text we're going to use. We can look at that, and we've got a title there, Tompe Chocolates, Treats of Chocoholics, a history of chocolate, a history of the Incas, history of Tompe chocolates, history of the Aztecs. Tompe chocolates can be good for your health. So we've got five sections there, and we've got an idea what they're about. So let's go back to our question. So we need the title from News Text L2, so we saw what that was. We need a paragraph about the history of chocolate, including the information we found in Section A, Task 1. Section A, Task 1 was our initial internet search. We were asked to find the scientific name of the plant that cocoa beans come from, which is Theobroma cocoa, and the names of the two countries which produce the largest amount of cocoa beans, and that's Ghana and Ivory Coast. Obviously, as you work through this paper, you would answer this question yourself. So we would be replacing, I'm going to just select that because I've already found it. I'm going to copy that, just right click on it. Okay, that's what I'm going to paste into my document, okay, when we get to that. So I'm happy I can do this bit. We need 2 other relevant paragraphs. Now, relevant is really important because that means if they use the word relevant, it means there's going to be some text in there that is not relevant. And looking at our text file, I would say this is a chocolate company, so the ones with chocolate are probably going to be the most likely ones. History of Tompe chocolates, Tompe's chocolates. They actually name the company there as well, so they're going to be relevant. And a history of chocolate here. And we can see in this one actually, it's got these insert information from task at 1A, things insert information for task 1B. So these are the bits that we found in the first question. I'm going to just select that, right click and paste the name of the plant that I copied just a moment ago. The 2 largest producers in the world of chocolate beans are, go back to my document here, so Ghana and Ivory Coast. I'm going to just type that. You may, when you do your search for this one, by the way, you may get Côte d'Ivoire as the answer, which is the French spelling of Ivory Coast. So that would be acceptable as well. Okay, so we've filled that out. So we know we're going to need this paragraph. We're going to use the 2 paragraphs with Tompe chocolate. So these history of the Aztecs and history of the Incas we're not going to need to use, because the question says the paragraph about the history of chocolate and 2 other relevant paragraphs. So we know we've got 3 paragraphs there, the other 2 aren't. 3 suitable images selected from Images June 12 L2. So let's go back to our data files, and we'll see there's an Images June 12 L2 folder. When you first go into your images folder, depending how your PC is set up, you'll probably get this view, which is called the detailed view, details view. We can change that by going to View at the top here and selecting one of the different settings there. You can also change that by, if you hold down the Control key, that's CTRL key, and use your mouse wheel, you can zoom in. Just keep turning your mouse wheel and you'll be able to zoom in as well. And that zoom trick works in all the Office applications. So we're going to need 3 pictures to go with our document. So it's about chocolates, so we'll put the chocolates in. That's quite a straightforward one. This is a cocoa bean, and this is a chocolate cake. We've got a rose, a teapot, and a bicycle. These probably aren't going to be relevant. And in these questions, there's always at least one image that's not relevant. They're trying to get you to use appropriate data, appropriate information. Okay, so we've got an image there. I've looked at the images, and this part of the question, I'm just checking things out, making sure I know what I'm doing. 3 suitable images. Okay, so we've decided on 3 images. The newsletter must be one side of A4 portrait. It must be formatted in columns. It must be spell checked, clear and easy to read, and fit for purpose. We've got to enter our name, candidate number, and sender number in the footer. And we've got to save the newsletter with a meaningful file name. Just checking. Sometimes they put a line in here that says add some text to, I don't know, promote our services or to encourage customers to come and visit us or something like that. So always read the question fully. So we've now got an idea of what we're doing. I said we're going to need to use publisher, so I'm going to just look for publisher here. And we can see it there, publisher. I can just click on that. And that opens up. When it opens up, it opens up like that, and you'll have your past pictures, past publications, and it gives you the option here for different templates and stuff like that. Most of the tutorials you watch about Project and Word and things and PowerPoint will tell you to use templates. For the exam, we do not want to use templates. They just complicate things for us at this point. We can do everything we need to do to get the marks without using templates, so I'm going to avoid using those. They asked us to create a blank A4 portrait document, which is here. We could just click on that. But sometimes they might want you to create a different size document. So, for instance, maybe A5 or A5 landscape or portrait. If it's not an A4 document, just click on the more blank page sizes. And you can see here we've got a range of different sizes we can select from. Select A4. We can either double click on that or just click it, select it, and then click on create. Either way, that gives us our picture, or sorry, our document. Now, on the left here, we've got a page, and actually I've set that to landscape, so that's wrong. So I could go back and just create a new document, but because I've done no work, it's quite easy to change it by going to page design, orientation, and change it to portrait. There we go. So I've got an A4 document, and I can see that, check that there, my A4 portrait there. That's ready to go. This is a thumbnail image of whatever's on here. The grey area is like a scratch area. We can drop text and images there and stuff. It's like a working area. This is the page. The blue border is the printable area. Everything apart from the footer must be inside that blue border, otherwise it will cost you a mark. So let's have a look then. So go back to the question. Keep going back to the question just to make sure you haven't missed something or you're doing something wrong. So the first thing we need is the title from news text L2. Okay, I'm going to quickly set that up. So let's go to news text L2. There's my title. You notice I'm not including the bit that says title and colon. You usually don't want those. So I just need a title. A little bit odd with that in there. So go to my thing. Now, because I've copied the text, I can just right click and paste, and it will automatically create a text box for me. And once we're working with text boxes in Publisher, it's very, very similar to PowerPoint in terms of we're working with boxes or objects that we can pick up and move around. So I'm going to quickly zoom in here. You can see it's created a box. It always pastes it in the middle of the page. And I've got this vertical cursor, which means I'm actually in the text. In text edit mode for the text within the box. If I move over, you see you get this cross with arrows. If I click now, the vertical cursor is still there. If I click on just the border on its own, you see there's no vertical cursor. We're now looking at the object, which is a text box. And we can do things like put a border around that, and I'm going to do that in just a sec. So I'll just scroll up. Let's move this. There are some rules in terms of text size and things for publisher tasks or the publication tasks. We mustn't have text that's smaller than 10, and it must be legible. So we're not allowed to use stylized fonts. We're not allowed to use word art. We're not allowed to use colors that don't work well together. So, for instance, you wouldn't use red text on a blue background. Okay, so I've pasted my text in there. Now I want to make this my title. There was no mention of a logo or anything, so I'm going to just take my title. And this is just it's not a predefined size. I've just made it look like that. Now, I could, my text is obviously too small there. I could just go in and highlight my text, go to home, and just keep increasing it until it's what I think is the right size. But obviously, if I resize my box, then I've got to change my text size. So for titles or text like this that's just like sitting in a box like this, please don't use this for your paragraphs. For these, we can use one of the features of text boxes. If we right click inside the text box, you'll see we've got some options here. I want to use the best fit, and what that will do is it makes my text fit the box. So if I make my box smaller, it shrinks the text down. If I make my text box bigger, it makes the text bigger. So it saves you a lot of grief there. So we're going to just do that, make it that big there. Okay. Just before we end this video, there's a few other things we can do with this. At the moment, the text is aligned towards the top of that text box. We can't see that here because this desktop publishing program, there are more controls over text. So we have an extra bit here. When we select a text box, it comes up text box tools format. If I look in there, I've got a separate alignment section, and I can see these 9 boxes tell me where the text is going to be. At the moment, this one's selected, so the text is at the top left. If I put it there, the text moves to the bottom left, bottom right, and so on. I want to just put it slap in the middle there. So I know it'll always look right. Whatever I do with this box, it'll look okay. So that's how we align that. The next video, I'm going to look at formatting this and starting to make it look presentable.